Hey there, I'm Ken. This is Canadian Retro Things. Welcome. Today, I'm going to look at some handheld gaming systems. One of the things in my life that I've never been is much of a Nintendo person. As a matter of fact, I completely missed out on all of the early Nintendo stuff. The very first thing I got was a Nintendo Wii. It was given to me as a Christmas present from my family a number of years ago. That's also the only new Nintendo thing I've ever had. I did actually finally get my first NES a few years ago. And I've been slowly building up a little bit of a collection of Nintendo stuff. I did also, just recently, pick up a couple of non-functioning handheld units that I'm going to see if maybe I can get them working today. So I got myself a Nintendo DS and a Nintendo DS Lite. So these were purchased as non-functioning. I think I paid about $5 for each of them, so $10 in total. So I think if I can at least get one of these running, that's going to be a good deal. And obviously, as I said, I've never used either of these before in my life. So yeah, this should be a little bit of fun. But before we get looking at these units, I got to give a big thank you to the sponsor of today's video, PCBWay. PCBWay, where you can have PCBs printed starting at only $5 for 10 boards. Time is running out to enter the 7th Project Design Contest. You only have until January 19th, 2025 to enter your electronics project, your mechanical project, or an STM32 project for your chance to win one of a number of prizes, including cash, coupons, and products. You even get a participation prize. See the PCBWay website for a complete list of rules and prizes. So visit www.pcbway.com today and PCB prototype the easy way. So if you've been doing the equivalent of living under a rock, like me, when it comes to these consoles, here's a little bit about them. This is the original Nintendo DS. It's a 32-bit handheld console. It was originally released in North America in November of 2004 for a price of $149.99 US. In its lifetime, it sold about 15.4 million units. As you can see, it is a handheld unit that takes cartridges, and it has two screens, an upper and a lower screen. That is about all I know about this one right now. And this is the Nintendo DS Lite. Its North American release was June of 2006. These sold just over 93 million units worldwide. It is slimmer, it's lighter, and apparently the screens are brighter, which I will be finding out. Again, it's a dual screen console, and it takes cartridges in both the front and the back. The first thing I'm going to be doing is just plugging these in to see what happens. Now, they do both take different types of cables to charge. I already had a charging cable for the Nintendo DS because it takes the same charging cable as a Game Boy Advanced SP. This one right here, which if you've been a long-time follower of my channel, this was actually one of the very first videos that I did, was fixing this up, putting a new skin on it and everything, and yeah, getting this working. New screen I think I put. So I will try just plugging this one in. And now we can plug in the Lite. Oh, And that one's got a light, so that's a good sign. So let's let these charge for a while and see what happens. And these have been charging for a couple of hours, so let's see if they do anything. First one we have. Is that? Nope, that's a bright. Aha! Power button is right here. So. Nothing. And the light's gone off there, so this one, power button's on the side. We got a light. All right, so the DS Lite looks like it's actually working. Maybe the battery's bad in it, so I'm going to try just having it run for however long and see how long this battery lasts. I'm just going to leave it on. But let's take a closer look at the DS and see if we can figure out what's wrong with it. I guess the first thing to do here is take out the battery. Test to see if there is any charge on this battery after having it on the charger for a couple of hours. And we're looking like a big fat 0. So the next thing to do is try to isolate whether this thing is actually charging or not. There we go. Switch those around so I'm not there. All right. And wrong way around, but we are charging at about 3 volts, which means, yeah, this should be working. So I think this battery is dead. See if it will power on while plugged in. Oop, we had a light flash. So it just flashed for a second. I think it needs a battery, which means I have to go and order a battery. So I let this run for a couple of hours and it had no problem. It never shut off. So yeah, the battery's at least good enough to be able to use this for a few hours at a time. So a little disappointing that the only thing that I had to do to get this unit working was buy a charger for it. That's a pretty boring fix video, but I got some styluses with it because neither of these had styluses. So yeah, that charger set me back another $15 or so. So now let's continue seeing if maybe there is something that needs to be fixed on this. So we turn it on. And of course, the first thing it's telling me is that before I begin, I must adjust the system settings. Okay, so I will just set this up and then we can try out some cartridges in it. Okay, playing around with this, doing all the settings on it and everything, the touch screen is working perfectly. Okay, so this thing has 2 cartridge ports on it, obviously. So the first one will take the Game Boy Advance cartridges, and I'm going to use my completely legitimate 396-in-1 Game Boy Advance cartridge here. And I do not know if the cartridges are hot swappable, so I'm just doing it this way. Alright, so sound seems to work. Yep, this works just fine. Okay, so, yeah, Game Boy Advance cartridges work fine in it. Now, the next problem that I have is that the DS cartridge goes in the back, but as I've mentioned, I've never owned a DS before, so I don't have any. I guess I could search around and try to find one at one of the charity shops like I usually do, or just go to the retro game shop and get one, and that's what I'm going to do so that I'm not wasting a bunch of time. I took a quick trip over to a fairly local game shop for my very first ever look at Nintendo DS games. And I am back with a game. What did I get? Well, as I've mentioned, I'm not much of a Nintendo person. The only thing I know about Nintendo is Mario is really popular, and my basic knowledge of Mario is Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. on my old ColecoVision. So I picked up something that was a little familiar to me. I picked up an X-Men game. I don't know if this is any good. I'm going to find out. All right, here we go. Looks like it goes in this way. Spring loaded. Both screens are working. All right, well, this looks like it's working. I'll just jump ahead here. Yes, we've got both screens going. Something's going on here, something's going on here. The reason I chose an X-Men game is because growing up I collected a lot of X-Men comics. And all the spin-offs, X-Factor, Wolverine, New Mutants, all that. Right, I'm going to have to call this as a completely working unit, which cost me about $5 for this and about $15 for the charger, so $20 in total. And I have a completely working unit. All right, here we are a couple days later. Got myself a new battery. So now, let's plug this in. Oh, check it out. We now got a light. So, was all of this as simple as one just wasn't charged and the other one just needed a new battery? Well, let's find out. So the new battery in this one seems to be working just fine. Time to put it through its paces. And the first thing will be to do the setup on this. So, seems to be working just fine on the touchscreen here, so I will finish setting this up and then we can test some games in it. Okay, doing the setup on this, the touchscreen here seemed to work just fine. Again, I'm going to use my completely legitimate 396 in 1 Game Boy Advance cartridge here. Doesn't seem to be reading this cartridge. Ah, there we go. Must have been some dirt in there. Yeah, I can definitely tell. Here, let's turn this down. Volume definitely works on this. I can definitely tell these screens are definitely not as bright as the ones on this unit, so. Now let's try my one and only Nintendo DS cartridge, which is, again, X-Men. Okay, and that's my game that I was playing right there on the other unit. Well, I would have to call this one completely working as well, and the only thing I had to do for this one is a new battery. I already had the charger for it because of my Game Boy Advance. So for $10, I bought a Game Boy, or a Nintendo DS and a Nintendo DS Lite. For another $15, I got the one charger I needed, and $15 additional dollars, I got the battery I needed. So that's $40 in total for 2 Nintendo DS's. Well, that was incredibly easy. Really not much of a repair video. But that's the way it goes. I mean, I don't really plan these videos. I just buy things that are supposedly not working and then see if I can get them working. Sometimes that means working on something for months, ordering parts left, right, and center, and never actually getting it completely working. And sometimes that means 5 minutes of work and it's going. A new battery and a new charger. But for 40 bucks all in, I now have 2 Nintendo DS's. And I did play that X-Men game a whole bunch and played it on both systems. I definitely like the DS Lite a lot better because just the smaller form factors, a little easier to hold in your hands, more ergonomic. And the screens are definitely brighter, which is just wonderful for my 50-plus-year-old eyes. All right, so yeah, at 20 bucks a piece, I could sell these, but as I said, I don't have any in my collection, so these are going to stay with me. All right, unfortunately, I didn't learn much. You probably didn't learn much, but hey, thanks for watching anyway. Don't forget that a like, a subscribe, and a comment below are all things that help the channel out a lot and are greatly appreciated. And yep, until next time, I will see you later.